So to close out this afternoon's session, I'm honored, incredibly honored, to invite U.S. Member of Congress Chellie Pingree, who represents Maine's 1st Congressional District. Please give her a round of applause.
Thank you so much, Danny. Thank you to everybody in the room. Pleased to be here with all of you, and pleased to follow my my colleague, Mr. Buchanan, and to have this bipartisan kind of conversation about food as medicine. I'm just going to spend about 5 minutes talking, so I'll talk fast. And I know you're all here because this is a topic that interests you, and you've already covered a lot of it today. But you do understand that the top 10 causes of death in the United States are related to chronic diseases. Diet is such a big factor with these conditions, including type 2 diabetes and heart disease, some cancers and obesity. And it accounts for about 80% of the cost of our $3 trillion that our nation spends on health care every year. I could go a lot more into those details, but let me talk a little bit about where we are. I've been pleased to help launch the Bipartisan Food as Medicine Working Group, which has helped to highlight the importance of many of these issues, and bringing things like fresh produce into our system and the connection with proper nutrition. We've done some great things as a caucus, helped to raise awareness, working with both the House and the Senate. As a member of the Appropriations Committee, we've put funding into both the Indian Health Service and the VA to support a produce prescription program. Yay, thank you for everyone. I just came from an appropriations hearing. Now our job is just to protect all that money in the process. And also worked on programs like GusNIP, where we've tried to expand the produce prescription program. And I am excited and concerned and hopeful and all of the words you can possibly think about working with this new administration and their emphasis on MAHA. So I know that's a frequent topic for all of us, is how to make sure that we can find some aligned goals and those areas where we cross over. There are those people who are excited about what's going on with the SNAP waivers and encouraging more healthy eating there. There are people who are excited about the reduction in the use of food dyes. That's important as well. In the 2026 budget, we have $500 million that are planned for doing some of this future work and research. We're going to have this administration deciding on the dietary guidelines later in this year. So there are a lot of places that we're watching, that we're hoping we can work together, and that we're hoping that our goals actually truly do align. Now, I also have some concurrent concerns. So I spent many hours in the Agriculture Committee last week when we witnessed a considerable amount of money being cut from SNAP. So the danger in there is that the fundamental of making sure that people eat healthy food is that they actually get food. And as we know, it's about $6 a day. Thank you. Yeah. So we can't, on the one hand, say we're going to support some of these healthy food goals, yet take away the funding. It's about $6 per day per person. So a cut to SNAP means a likely reduction in that amount. And one of the things that we all know too well is eating healthy, having more fresh fruits and vegetables in your diet costs money. And so making sure that people have access to that funding is a deep concern to me, and making sure that we're not, on the one hand, proposing some awesome goals, yet reducing the funding in a way that can't happen. Some of the plans there are to reduce the funding to the states, so states will have to make that up. We've worked so hard to have federal priorities and goals for more healthy fruits and vegetables. We're not sure that that'll happen in every state, and we know that when funding is squeezed, often that's the place that doesn't get funding. We also lost SNAP Ed, SNAP Education, which goes beyond the SNAP program, but also to others to help people get that basic level of nutrition education. There are a lot of people who say, well, I want to eat more healthy, but I'm not exactly sure what that means and what to do or how to do it on an affordable budget. So losing SNAP Ed is a big concern. Also, a future reduction in the Thrifty Food Plan. The Thrifty Food Plan, for the wonks in the room, was how we were going to reevaluate SNAP costs over time and make sure that we were increasing costs as things cost more. Without that, the funding won't be there for those food cost increases. We're also dealing with a time of unprecedented food costs, so this is a challenge. We lost another $3 billion in the reconciliation plan that was going to some of the local produce acquisition. That was a wonderful program that had really started to increase the amount of food that was purchased locally for both school lunch programs and our food banks. Again, that's an expensive cost. I think we're all unified in the principle of buying more food locally, supporting American farmers. Took a long time to develop those connections and figure out how to effectively spend that money. So to have that program wiped out, it's another way of losing the opportunity to have fresh, healthy food at food banks and at school lunches. It also breaks the connection to those farmers who had contracts and are now deciding, like, do I really want to invest in producing more food locally? So I think that's harmful all along the way. There is a FDA-NIH joint initiative that has launched earlier this month to inform some policy around the research agenda, and I am all in favor of more research on how do ultra-processed foods harm people's health, how do food additives interfere with people's metabolic health and contribute to chronic diseases. There's a whole variety of good ideas out there, and I'm a big believer in the research. On the other side, we've lost one of our best food researchers at NIH. We're seeing severe cuts to NIH, and we're dealing with the 26 budget, which has deep cuts all along the way. So we're dealing with some contradictions here and have to figure out how to make sure that we continue to work on these important principles as we find our common ground on a topic that all of us consider really important. So I have my full dedication on this. I've been, we all like to say we were MAHA before there was MAHA, but I really was. I go back to the 70s as a back to the lander, so I really have the real creds on this of growing my own food. I've been an certified organic farmer for much of my life, and been a true believer of making sure that we have more healthy fruits and vegetables in our diet, that we have local farmers available to do this. I've worked on getting PFAS out of our soil and sustainable agriculture. I supported research to research the very question of does healthier soil produce healthier vegetables, and I hope that they don't deep sex that over at the USDA, but they're still working on that particular program. So I do think there's a lot of opportunities for this kind of collaboration. We're in the early days, really, of this administration. We're in the early days of seeing what will happen in the 2026 budget. We're trying to get some of this funding restored that we lost initially, and all those will be important components of moving forward. We're also looking for cross-the-aisle relationships, because I do think it's important that we talk to our colleagues about this on a one-on-one basis. How do we make sure that we're putting integrity behind our statements? And we've met with some of those people in our state who are very strongly in favor of the MAHA movement and made sure that we're looking for those areas that we have cross-cooperation. I'm lucky enough to serve on the Agriculture Committee as well as the Agriculture Appropriations Committee. We've already had some early meetings with the Secretary, and we'll continue to try to continue that relationship going and point out where we have consistencies and also where we have inconsistencies, because we don't want an administration that tries to take credit for some of these good ideas, but then really when it comes to the funding or the research or the hard work that we need to do, falls behind. So you have my full commitment on that. I really look forward to working with all of you. You're often our eyes and ears about where the funding is going and where it's not going. You're our advocates when we need people talking to our colleagues on the other side of the aisle who say, oh, wow, this is a great idea, but then don't always do the follow-through on what we have to vote for. And we are in an incredibly tricky time. We have never been faced with so many complicated issues between the DOGE reducing some of the funding, the reconciliation bill, which has sort of overtaken the farm bill and a lot of the agricultural funding that we need to have done, as well as the Medicaid funding that's just critically important to keeping people healthy. And we're trying to work through a 2026 budget with an administration that doesn't always necessarily spend the money that appropriations gets them. And in fact, they're not even spending all the money that we gave them in the CR in 25. So you put all those layers together, and it's an unprecedented sort of funding, spending, authorizing moment in time. So it's going to take all armies present to get this work done. But I do believe there's some opportunities here. If we can get some good things done, if we can find some alignment of purpose, we have to do that. And I'll look forward to working with all of you to do that. So I'm going to head out to vote, but I really appreciate all of you being here, and thank you so much for your time.